Hello and welcome. So today I want to speak to you about a topic that is very dear to my heart, and that's the topic of nurturing mindful parenting. And now, what does that mean? Well, it means that we need to find balance within the boundaries. And what boundaries are we talking about? That's precisely what I'm going to talk about now. So why do we want to set boundaries? So mindful parenting is all about finding that sweet spot between setting boundaries and being present with our children. It means setting boundaries with presence, not in a strict rule enforcing way, but rather setting boundaries that are beneficial to the child's development and beneficial to our development as parents. The boundaries are going to ensure that the child has their independence while we are able to flourish as human beings as well. And when we're going to do that, the first important thing is that we need to figure out where the boundaries that we're setting are coming from and what are the expectations behind them. So are they expectations that we have about our children's future or about how we should be based on our fears or desires? Or are they expectations that are just set in the moment when we are present with our children and that are coming from a place of love and understanding rather than a place of trying to control them? So it's natural as parents, we want to protect our children. We want to keep them safe. I think it's normal to want that. But keeping them safe and protecting them does not mean dictating what and how they should do things. We can say what we think about the things if they ask us, but nobody wants a radio station tuned in to criticism or tuned in to tell them what they should do or what they shouldn't do, how they should do it and how they shouldn't do it every day. Because what happens, even if the child gets used to it, eventually that radio station is not going to be tuned into your voice. It's going to be somebody else's voice. And you don't want the child to get lost. You want your child to have the confidence to know what it is that he or she wants moment by moment so that they can flourish, so that they can be themselves and achieve what they want to achieve in life. So the first thing is to take a moment and check in with ourselves before we're going to talk about boundaries and the issue of boundaries with our child. And I suggest that you take a moment where you're feeling calm and centered and you're not reacting to anything, you're not stressed or you're not frustrated. Maybe take a moment at the end of the day and just visualize yourself and your child in 5 years' time. Or if that feels very far away, visualize them in 1 year's time. Just really visualize where you see them, what you see them doing, what you see yourself doing. How much involvement do you see yourself having? And then take a look, if you have the opportunity, write it down and take a look at that and just read through it and see if it sounds like something that is coming from what your child would want. Or is it coming from what you think your child should want or what you think is best for your child? Is it coming from a place of looking at all possibilities and admitting that anything really is possible for a child if they want to do it? Or is it coming from a place in which we are thinking that if they don't do certain things, doom will happen? Where is it coming from? Just take a look and be honest with yourself. The more honest you are, the easier it's going to be to step into conscious parenting. And once you realize that this is what you see as possible for them, have a conversation with your child and check in. Is this also what they want? Is this also what they see as possible for them? Now, some children do not have that much attention. So there are ways in which you can talk to them and find out what it is that they would like without necessarily sitting them down and telling them, look, we need to talk right now. Okay. So take your time, do that. And then once you have that and you have discussed it with your child, find out what they think about this. What do you think, for example, if I see myself and my child in 5 years, I see my child at a very simple level, I see them in college. In 5 years, my children should be in college according to the US Society. So first of all, what do I need to do? Talk to them and see, is it actually what you're going for? Are you going for college? Yes or no? Maybe one of them says, no, I'm not going for college. I just want to go to some kind of technical school and get a job from there. Okay, fine. If they say, yes, I want to go to college. Okay, so what are you thinking about doing? And have them tell me what they like. I can see what their strengths are. That doesn't mean that they will be happy doing something that is within their strengths, even if it might be easier. Easy doesn't always mean happy. And they also have the time, whatever you decide to study doesn't necessarily even mean that you end up working at that. I have studied many things and I shift what I work in depending on the interest in the moment. You always have the capacity to go back to school, go back to university, or find ways in which to learn things, even if it's not economically feasible to go back to university or school. There are always ways in which you can learn things and become prepared in an area that is really in your interest. Allow life to happen to your children in a way that they can experience it fully without you or me or anyone telling them if it's correct or not correct. Allow them to make their own judgment. Once everything is set, then discuss as a family, okay, so if we are setting a boundary, for example, coming back to the topic that I was talking about, school, if that is what my child is going for, if they're going for university, so I say, okay, so in order for you to go to university, what do you think you need to do? They tell me, oh, I need to get these grades and that grades. Okay, so are you going to work on that? Yes. Okay, so what is going to be, how do you want me to be involved? Am I going to be reminding you all the time to do your work that you need to do to apply to the college? Or are you going to come across it on your own? And if they say by myself, don't tell them you're not going to be able to do it by yourself. No, you just say, okay, try it. If you need support, call me, let me know, and I'll help you. And if they do not, they do not bind by the agreement of how involved or not you are going to be, or you don't bind by the agreement of how involved or not you are going to be, then there have to be some consequences. Okay, because those are boundaries, the boundary between our child and us. Our child is not our extension. Our child is not our arm that we can touch at any time and move in the direction that we want. Our child can decide things and has a right to their own space in their mind as well, not only the physical space. They have the right to create their own thoughts and preferences. And the way that we can do that is to be constantly in communication with them and have agreements on boundaries, agreements on what happens when those boundaries are broken. Okay, so for example, if my child doesn't follow up on what he says he's going to do to arrive at the university, well, the first consequence evidently is that maybe he won't make it to university. But if it's something more day to day, for example, that there's an agreement that for a certain amount of time, I will have my alone time and they won't come in. Or the other way around, they have their alone time, I don't go into their space. What happens is if I break it? So there has to be some kind of consequence. Consequence in terms of an incentive, perhaps, that is normally given that you don't get, or some kind of other consequence. But in any case, there needs to be some kind of consequence when the agreements are not being kept. Now I want to talk to you about the importance of being present with your young person moment by moment. So why is it important? It's important to be present and to be fully engaged and tuned into their world without judging them or comparing it. It's a time when we put down our phones, we turn off our mental to-do list, we simply dedicate ourselves to be there with our child and to listen to whatever they want to say, or even if they don't want to say anything. Some people express a lot just in silence. Don't make assumptions, don't make judgments, just listen. When we're really present with our child, present with them in what they want, in what they like, we get to know them a lot better. And that strengthens any relationship at any moment in time. This is also true with our partners. So how can we be present moment by moment? First of all, to designate a time each day in which we unplug, where I will not touch my phone, or I will not touch my computer or the TV, nor does my child, and I'm simply with them, engaging in conversation or doing some kind of other activity. And practice actively listening. So what does it mean to actively listen? It means to listen to each word the person says without judging or without making assumptions. How do we know we're not actively listening? If a person is talking to us and we're waiting for them to stop talking so that we can intervene, we're not listening. We're listening to ourselves, not to them. Or if we're looking for the right moment to correct them, we're not listening either. Okay, so we actively listen. Once the person has finished speaking, we can ask them, is this what you meant? And if they say yes, then great, because that means it was understood. If they say no, then you can ask them to repeat it and see if you understand what they are saying this time. And that also leads to a more to a closer relationship because the child feels heard, they feel understood. It's not only that they're speaking to you and you're not paying attention, they're actually being understood. And another way is which is especially good if your child doesn't sit still for very long, many of us don't, is to engage in activities together that encourage mindfulness. So it could be, maybe if your child is very active, it's better to talk to them while you're going on a jog or on a walk. That's completely possible. Then they will be more relaxed and they will be open to talk to you. Or you can do some kind of art project, or if they are open to it, not all children are, do some meditation exercises. And last, we need to find balance. So what is balance? Balance is not about perfection. It's about finding out what works for you and your family at all times. And it's about being flexible and adjusting the boundaries and the way we parent as our child grows and develops. We need to prioritize self-care. That means we need to reserve time each day for activities that recharge our batteries, whether it's reading a book, taking a bath, taking a stroll, whatever, but where we are being recharged. If we're giving all day and we don't take the time to recharge ourselves, we'll be exhausted at some point and there will be nobody left there. Okay, or we will react and then it'll be a disaster. And seek support from other parents or professionals when necessary. It is important to recognize that seeking support does not mean there's something wrong with us, does not mean that we're defective. It does not mean that we're doing less than we should do. It means that we are so effective that we're able to recognize that other perspectives can actually help us improve. It's like when you finish your bachelor's degree and you decide to go for a master's degree. Why do you go for a master's degree? It's not because there's something wrong with you. It's because there's always more we can learn. And there are ways we can learn. Okay, so that's all for today. I hope you have found this very interesting. And what I want to share with you all is that this is what mindful parenting is all about, conscious parenting. And if you have any questions, please send them to me. I would be more than happy to answer them. And if you have any comments at all, I would also be happy to hear it. Hope you enjoyed.